Naturally appreciate things that are not constantly available. A rare opportunity feels valuable because it cannot be experienced whenever we want. The same principle applies to people. Someone who is available every hour of every day eventually becomes ordinary in the eyes of others. But someone who knows when to step away creates curiosity without saying a single word. This is why powerful people suddenly disappear. They understand that their greatest asset is not their ability to stay visible, it is their ability to protect their presence. They refuse to let their time become cheap. They refuse to make themselves emotionally available to everyone who demands attention. Every unnecessary conversation, every meaningless argument, and every attempt to satisfy everyone slowly drains their influence. Rather than allowing this to happen, they quietly step back, notice something interesting. The people who constantly announce that they are successful often spend more time talking than achieving. Meanwhile, those who are building something meaningful are usually the hardest to find. They are busy learning, improving, creating, and preparing. While others seek applause for every small step, powerful people become comfortable working where nobody is watching. They understand that results create far more respect than constant updates ever will. Many people mistake disappearance for weakness because they only see what happens on the surface. They never see the silent work taking place behind the scenes. They assume nothing is happening simply because nothing is being displayed. But real growth is usually invisible while it is happening. A tree spends years strengthening its roots before anyone notices how tall it has become. In the same way, powerful people invest in foundations long before they reveal the outcome. Another reason they disappear is because they refuse to become prisoners of other people's expectations. The more visible you become, the more people expect your attention. They expect instant replies, constant availability, and unlimited access to your time. Soon your own priorities begin competing with everyone else's demands. Powerful people recognize this danger early. Instead of trying to satisfy every expectation, they remove themselves from unnecessary obligations. Their disappearance is not an escape from responsibility. It is a return to their own priorities. This requires confidence because disappearing often means allowing people to misunderstand you. Some will assume you no longer care. Others will criticize your distance. A few may even create stories about why you stepped away. But powerful people are not controlled by these opinions. They understand that explaining themselves to everyone only pulls them away from what truly matters. They accept that not everyone will understand their choices, and they are at peace with that. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing attention is often the moment people begin paying more attention to you. They start asking where you went. They wonder what you are working on. They become curious because your absence interrupts the routine they had become accustomed to. Curiosity creates interest far more effectively than constant exposure. This is why truly influential people never need to remind the world of their importance. Their presence carries weight because it is never wasted. So if you ever wonder why powerful people suddenly disappear, remember that they are not running away from life, they are stepping away from noise. They understand that becoming extraordinary requires protecting their time, guarding their attention, and refusing to let constant visibility replace real growth. And once you understand why they choose absence over attention, the next lesson becomes even clearer. They disappear not just to increase their value, but to protect the energy that makes that value possible. If there is one reason why powerful people suddenly disappear, it is this: understand that energy is more valuable than attention. Most people spend their lives trying to protect their reputation, their image, or their position, but they forget to protect the one resource that makes all of those things possible. Every decision you make, every conversation you have, every conflict you enter, and every relationship you maintain requires energy. Once that energy is wasted on things that do not matter, your ability to think clearly, make wise decisions, and move toward your goals begins to disappear. Powerful people recognize this danger long before everyone else does, and that is why they quietly step away. Look at the average person's daily routine. From the moment they wake up, they are surrounded by noise. Endless notifications compete for their attention. Arguments on social media demand emotional reactions. People expect immediate replies. Friends want constant availability. Family members bring unnecessary drama. Coworkers involve them in problems that have nothing to do with their purpose. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted, yet they have accomplished very little. They believe they are tired because they worked hard, but often they are simply mentally drained from giving their energy to everything, except what truly matters. Powerful people refuse to live like this. They understand that every unnecessary conversation comes with a hidden price. Every meaningless debate consumes mental focus. Every toxic relationship slowly steals emotional strength. Every distraction pulls them one step further away from the future they are trying to build. Instead of trying to manage endless chaos, they remove themselves from it. That is why powerful people suddenly disappear. They are not avoiding responsibility. They are eliminating unnecessary responsibility. One of the greatest misconceptions about success is that successful people have more time than everyone else. They do not. They simply guard their time and energy with far greater discipline. They understand that saying yes to everything is the fastest way to achieve nothing. Every unnecessary commitment becomes another burden. Every obligation accepted out of guilt becomes another distraction. Every attempt to please everyone weakens their ability to focus on what truly deserves their best effort. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you left a conversation feeling completely exhausted? Not because anything productive happened, but because someone complained for an hour, created unnecessary drama, or tried to involve you in problems that were never yours to solve. Now imagine repeating that experience every single day. Little by little, your enthusiasm disappears, your motivation fades, your creativity weakens, you begin surviving instead of growing. Powerful people recognize these patterns early, and instead of continuing to lose themselves in them, they choose distance. This is why they often become less available. They stop answering every phone call immediately. They no longer attend every gathering simply because they received an invitation. They stop participating in conversations that add no value to their lives. To people on the outside, this sudden disappearance may seem cold or distant. Some may even take it personally. But the truth is much simpler. Powerful people are protecting the environment their mind needs in order to grow. They also understand something that most people overlook. Negative emotions are contagious. Spend enough time around people who constantly complain, criticize, gossip, or live in conflict, and eventually you begin carrying the same emotional weight. Your thinking becomes clouded. Your optimism weakens. Your confidence starts depending on circumstances instead of discipline. This is why powerful people carefully choose who has access to them. They know that protecting their energy also means protecting the influences that shape their mindset. Notice that when powerful people disappear, they rarely announce it. They do not make dramatic speeches about cutting people off or leaving everyone behind. They simply become less available. Their silence is intentional. They understand that real change does not require public announcements. It requires private decisions followed by consistent action. While others are explaining why they need space, powerful people are already using that space to improve themselves. Another reason they disappear is because deep thinking requires solitude. Great decisions are rarely made in constant noise. Creativity grows in quiet moments. Clarity appears when the mind is no longer overwhelmed by endless opinion. If every hour of your day is filled with conversations, notifications, and distractions, you leave yourself no room to reflect. Powerful people understand that solitude is not loneliness. It is an investment in clear thinking. By stepping away from constant stimulation, they give themselves the opportunity to solve bigger problems, create better ideas, and make wiser decisions. This habit is difficult because the modern world celebrates constant availability. People often mistake busyness for importance. They believe that responding instantly makes them valuable. But powerful people know that being constantly accessible often means losing control of your own life. They would rather disappoint someone with a delayed reply than disappoint themselves by abandoning their purpose. In the end, powerful people suddenly disappear because they know that protecting their energy is protecting their future. They understand that every ounce of attention wasted on chaos is attention stolen from growth. Instead of allowing the world to consume them, they quietly step back, regain their focus, and invest their strength where it produces lasting results. And once they have protected their energy from unnecessary noise, something remarkable begins to happen. Their absence itself starts creating curiosity, respect, and influence without them saying a single word. After powerful people step away to protect their time and preserve their energy, something unexpected begins to happen. The very absence that others misunderstand starts creating a level of curiosity that constant visibility could never achieve. This is one of the biggest reasons powerful people suddenly disappear. They understand a psychological principle that most people ignore. People rarely appreciate what they always have access to, but they naturally become curious about what suddenly becomes unavailable. Think about someone who is always present. They answer every message within seconds, attend every gathering, comment on every discussion, and constantly update everyone about their lives. At first, people may pay attention, but over time, their presence becomes predictable. There is no mystery because nothing is left to discover. Everyone knows where they are, what they are doing, and what they will probably do next. Familiarity slowly replaces fascination. The more ordinary your presence becomes, the less people notice it. Now imagine someone completely different. They are present when it matters, but they never feel the need to be seen all the time. Then one day, they quietly disappear. They stop sharing every achievement. They stop chasing conversations that lead nowhere. They become less available without making dramatic announcements. Almost immediately, people begin asking questions. Where did they go? What are they working on? Why have they become so quiet? Notice what happened. They did not ask for attention, yet attention naturally followed them. This is because the human mind dislikes unanswered questions. We are naturally curious about what we cannot fully understand. When someone disappears with purpose, they create a gap that people instinctively try to fill. They begin imagining possibilities, creating explanations, and paying closer attention than they ever did before. Ironically, the person who stopped trying to be noticed often becomes the person everyone notices. Powerful people understand this difference. They never confuse influence with exposure. Exposure means being seen everywhere. Influence means remaining memorable even when you are not there. Anyone can become visible by constantly demanding attention. Very few people become unforgettable without saying a word. That quiet influence comes from understanding when to be present and when to step away. This does not mean disappearing as a strategy to manipulate people or play emotional games. There is a huge difference between intentional growth and calculated manipulation. Some people disappear hoping others will chase them. Their focus remains on getting attention. Powerful people disappear for the opposite reason. They stop seeking attention altogether. Their priority is not making people wonder where they are. Their priority is becoming someone whose life no longer depends on being constantly noticed. The curiosity that follows is simply a natural consequence, not the goal. Another reason absence creates respect is because it communicates independence. People begin realizing that you are not controlled by the fear of missing out. You do not need to attend every event, join every conversation, or remain connected every hour of the day to feel valuable. That level of emotional independence quietly earns respect because it is increasingly rare. Most people fear being left out. Powerful people fear losing themselves in unnecessary distractions. Notice how the most respected individuals often reveal very little about what they are building until the work is complete. While others announce every idea before taking action, they remain silent. They understand that unfinished plans attract opinions, criticism, and unnecessary pressure. By disappearing from public attention, they create space where their ideas can grow without constant interference. Then, when they finally return, people see results instead of promises. Results always create stronger influence than announcement. There is another psychological effect that powerful people understand. Constant presence often reduces appreciation. Imagine hearing the same song every hour of every day. Eventually, it fades into the background. But if you hear it after months of silence, you notice every detail again. Human relationships often follow the same pattern. Continuous availability can make your presence feel ordinary. Purposeful absence reminds people of the value they overlooked when you were always there. Of course, this only works when your absence has purpose. Disappearing without growth accomplishes nothing. If you withdraw but spend that time wasting opportunities, avoiding responsibility, or hoping people miss you, your absence loses its meaning. Powerful people disappear because they are building something: stronger discipline, deeper wisdom, greater skills, or a clearer vision. When they return, the difference is impossible to ignore because it is reflected in who they have become. That is why they never panic when people misunderstand their silence. They know that respect built through consistent growth lasts far longer than attention gained through constant visibility. They trust that time will reveal what words never could. Instead of forcing others to recognize their value, they allow their transformation to speak on their behalf. And once curiosity has been created through purposeful absence, the next stage becomes even more powerful because the time spent away is where they quietly build the strength that leaves everyone wondering how they changed so completely. After creating curiosity through their absence and protecting their energy from constant distractions, powerful people do something that separates them from everyone else. They do not disappear to hide from life. They disappear to rebuild themselves. This is the difference that most people fail to understand. The average person disappears because they are discouraged, overwhelmed, or trying to escape their problems. Powerful people suddenly disappear because they know that transformation requires privacy. They understand that the strongest version of themselves can never be built while they are constantly performing for an audience. Look at nature for a moment. The greatest transformations never happen in public. A seed grows beneath the soil where nobody can see it. A diamond forms under years of pressure deep beneath the earth. Even the strongest trees spend years developing their roots before their height becomes visible. Real growth has always been a private process. Powerful people follow the same principle. They know that if they spend all their time proving themselves to others, they will have very little time left to improve themselves. This is why they suddenly disappear. They step away from unnecessary attention because they understand that progress demands uninterrupted focus. Every hour spent trying to impress people is an hour not spent mastering a skill. Every moment spent explaining your dreams is a moment taken away from actually building them. Powerful people make a decision that most people are unwilling to make. They sacrifice temporary recognition in exchange for permanent growth. Notice what usually happens when someone starts working toward a meaningful goal. Before they have achieved anything, they tell everyone about their plans. They announce their next business, their next project, their next ambition, or the changes they are going to make. At first, they receive praise and encouragement, but slowly something changes. The excitement of talking about success begins replacing the discipline of earning it. Instead of making progress, they become addicted to the feeling of being seen trying. Powerful people avoid this trap completely. They rarely announce what they are about to do. They understand that words create expectations, while silence creates freedom. By disappearing, they remove themselves from unnecessary opinions, constant questions, and the pressure to satisfy everyone else's timeline. They no longer have to explain why progress is slow or why certain decisions were made. Their only responsibility becomes the work itself. This private season is where their greatest transformation begins. While others are scrolling endlessly through other people's lives, they are reading, learning, practicing, and sharpening their abilities. While others are arguing online, they are strengthening their minds. While others are chasing validation, they are building discipline. Every quiet day becomes another investment in the person they are becoming. Their disappearance is not empty silence. It is focused preparation. There is something incredibly powerful about working without applause. When nobody is watching, your discipline becomes genuine. You wake up because your purpose demands it, not because someone expects an update. You continue learning because excellence matters to you, not because you want compliments. Your habits stop depending on motivation and begin depending on commitment. This is the stage where real confidence is born. It is built in moments that nobody celebrates. Many people cannot tolerate this stage because they want immediate recognition. They mistake visibility for progress. If nobody notices them, they assume they are falling behind. Powerful people think differently. They know that the world rewards visible results, but those results are created through invisible effort. They are willing to spend months or even years improving in silence because they understand that one extraordinary result speaks louder than 1,000 promises. Another reason powerful people suddenly disappear during this phase is because they protect unfinished work. Every dream is fragile in its early stages. Too many opinions, too much criticism, or too much praise can easily distract you from your original purpose. Some people will tell you that your vision is impossible. Others will encourage you without understanding the sacrifices required. Both can become distractions. By keeping their work private, powerful people allow their ideas to mature without constant interference. Then comes the moment everyone notices. After weeks, months, or even years of silence, they return. But they do not return with excuses or stories. They return with results. The business has grown, the skills have improved, the confidence is undeniable, the discipline is visible in everything they do. People are often surprised because they only saw the disappearance. They never witnessed the countless early mornings, the lonely nights, the difficult decisions, or the relentless consistency that made the transformation possible. This is why powerful people never fear disappearing. They know they are not losing time, they are investing it. They understand that stepping away from the spotlight today allows them to return tomorrow with something far more valuable than attention. They return with undeniable growth, and growth always commands more respect than constant visibility ever could. So, whenever you see someone quietly disappear from the noise, do not assume they are falling behind. They may be building a version of themselves that will make every moment of silence worthwhile. And once they have rebuilt themselves in private, they become strong enough to walk away from any person or place that no longer recognizes their value. After spending time away from distractions, protecting their energy, and transforming themselves in private, powerful people often make one decision that surprises everyone around them. They never return to places where they are merely tolerated instead of truly valued. This is another reason why powerful people suddenly disappear. Their absence is not always about building success. Sometimes it is about protecting dignity. They understand that staying where your worth is constantly questioned slowly destroys your confidence, your peace, and your future. Instead of begging for appreciation, they quietly walk away. Most people do the opposite. They stay too long in relationships that no longer respect them. They continue working for people who never recognize their effort. They remain loyal to friendships where loyalty exists only on one side. They keep trying to earn attention from people who have already decided not to give it. They believe that if they become kinder, work harder, or sacrifice even more, everything will eventually change. But powerful people understand a painful truth. You cannot force someone to value what they have already chosen to overlook. This realization changes everything. Instead of asking, how can I make them appreciate me? They begin asking, why am I fighting so hard to stay where my value is constantly ignored? That single question becomes the beginning of their disappearance. They stop chasing invitations that never come. They stop forcing conversations that have become one-sided. They stop proving their loyalty to people who repeatedly betray it. Their silence is not a punishment. It is a declaration of self-respect. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that walking away means giving up. In reality, walking away often requires far more strength than staying. Staying can become a habit driven by fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of starting over, or the fear of losing people they have invested years in. Powerful people refuse to let fear make their decisions. They understand that every day spent in an environment that drains their spirit is another day stolen from the life they could be building elsewhere. This is why they disappear without creating unnecessary drama. They do not organize dramatic farewells. They do not spend weeks arguing about who was right or wrong. They do not chase the last word. They understand that endless explanations rarely change unwilling hearts. Instead of wasting their energy trying to convince people to respect them, they quietly remove themselves from situations where respect no longer exists. Their departure is calm because their decision has already been made internally. Notice how people often react after someone truly valuable leaves. While that person was always available, their presence was taken for granted, their kindness was expected, their patience was assumed, their loyalty was treated as permanent. But the moment they suddenly disappear, everything changes. The phone becomes quieter. The support that was once freely given is no longer there. The reliability that people overlooked becomes impossible to replace. Only then do many begin to understand the value they failed to recognize. Powerful people do not disappear hoping others will miss them. That is an important difference. If your goal is to make people chase you, then you are still emotionally dependent on their reaction. True strength comes when your decision has nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with protecting your peace. Whether people notice your absence or not is no longer the point. The point is that you finally stopped abandoning yourself just to remain accepted by others. There is another reason powerful people leave quietly. They know that arguing for respect is a contradiction. Respect that must be begged for is not respect at all. Appreciation that appears only after endless effort is rarely genuine. They would rather build new relationships based on mutual trust than constantly repair relationships built on imbalance. Their energy is too valuable to spend convincing people of something that should already be obvious. This principle applies to every area of life. It applies to friendships where your presence is appreciated only when someone needs a favor. It applies to workplaces where your dedication is rewarded with more exploitation instead of more respect. It applies to partnerships where your loyalty is mistaken for weakness. Powerful people recognize these patterns earlier than most. Instead of complaining about them for years, they quietly change their environment. They understand that growth often requires leaving behind places that no longer allow you to become your best self. At first, their disappearance may be misunderstood. Some people will call them distant. Others will accuse them of changing. A few will even question their loyalty. But powerful people are willing to accept temporary misunderstanding if it means protecting their long-term well-being. They know that every meaningful transformation requires difficult decisions, and sometimes the hardest decision is choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else. Ironically, once they stop chasing people who refuse to value them, they create space for healthier opportunities to enter their lives. New relationships appear. Better environments open their doors. Greater opportunities become possible because they are no longer trapped where they have outgrown their purpose. Their disappearance was never a loss. It was a necessary step toward a better future. And once they have the courage to walk away from what no longer deserves them, they are finally ready to return, not to seek approval, but as a stronger person whose growth speaks so loudly that they can no longer be ignored. Everything you have learned so far leads to this final truth. Powerful people do not disappear so that others will miss them. They disappear so that when they return, they are no longer the same person. This is the greatest reason why powerful people suddenly disappear. Their absence is never about escaping the world. It is about creating enough distance from distractions, negativity, and limitations to transform themselves into someone the world cannot ignore. They understand that the greatest response to doubt is not an argument. The greatest response to disrespect is not revenge. The greatest response to being underestimated is becoming so much better that your success speaks before you do. Most people react very differently when they are ignored, rejected, or underestimated. They become obsessed with proving others wrong. They waste months explaining themselves to people who have already made up their minds. They spend endless hours arguing, defending their choices, and trying to force others to recognize their value. Without realizing it, they have allowed other people's opinions to become the center of their lives. Every decision they make is influenced by the desire to receive approval. Powerful people refuse to fall into this trap. The moment they realize they are wasting energy trying to convince people who refuse to understand them, they quietly disappear. But notice what they do after disappearing. They do not spend their time waiting for someone to call them back. They do not secretly hope people will regret losing them. They do not count the days until someone notices their absence. Their attention shifts completely inward. Every morning becomes an opportunity to